Hello, this is Lord Demos here with Lady Corey. We're finishing up last month. Sorry it took us a little while to come back. We only had one vote for everyone, so I was hoping to give y'all a little extra time, but apparently nobody else jumped on and voted, so since it was Ray's month, I let him just pick out the three, and he chose Spider-Man. So we're going to talk about Spider-Man. Yes, but she was one of the votes. So we're going to do Spider-Man. Spider-Man is one of the most iconic Marvel, and you can say one of the biggest superheroes out there. For the fact of he's very relatable, but it's even one of Stan Lee's favorites. He adored Spider-Man because it was one of his first ones he did. But yeah, in my opinion, what makes Spider-Man like really work for everybody is he's not just, yes, I said like relatable, but I think it also applies to the concept that he's not like other heroes. And Marvel expresses that a little bit better than DC. DC started doing it for a while, now they're got it going, but Marvel was the first to really do it, is that to show that their secret identity conflicted with their heroism. You know, sometimes Spider-Man's fighting Green Goblin and he's got to get over here to Aunt May or MJ, you know, things like that. There were situations that he had to make choices that really you would think, well, you're a hero, you shouldn't have to make the, but in all actuality, it came out to more of a real life situation. You know what? And then it shows him being so conflicted about being a hero. A lot of heroes show these conflicts, but he kind of expressed it first. You know, he had to really find himself in it. And then you still see today in a lot of the Spider-Man comics is that he still struggles with being a superhero. That the concept of being a hero is one of the biggest problems he has because he likes it, but he doesn't. You don't got anything to say?
Hey, I'm looking at you. Cause you was like all that, and like you're like not looking. You was looking over there. But you wasn't looking at the video.
But another thing is, what I think makes Spider-Man stand out is he's similar to what I call the Batman effect. And what I mean by that is very simple concept of it's not just the hero that stands out to you. It's a lot of the villains. You know, if you think of Marvel villains, you think of instantly like Venom and Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin. You know, you think of all these major villains, and they all came from what? Spider-Man. You know, Black Cat, Ghost Rider, Blade. All these have showed up on there. Spider-Man. Some the X-Men concept originated from the idea of Spider-Man. That's what I'm saying. Spider-Man stands out not just for himself, just because of the things that surround him all the time. He jokes around a lot. He makes these puns and annoys his villains. And then he turns around and he shows his scientific mind. Then he turns around, shows you the human side of him. I mean, he is extremely unique. And like I said, his villains are standing out because of, I mean, like I said, the Batman effect. I mean, when you think of Batman, you don't just think of Batman, you start thinking of Joker and others. Same thing with Spider-Man. So you should start thinking of Spider-Man. You start thinking of all his villains. A lot of people turn to Venom because Venom is a very iconic villain. I mean, they've even given him two of his own movies, Venom and Prepare for Carnage or something like that. I haven't got to see it yet. You know, and even Venom had his own comic book series for a while. Yeah, he did.
What the frick? I didn't know that.
And Spider-Man, I mean, think about it. If you look at all the Marvel heroes that they've tried to make movies and TV shows on, Spider-Man was one of them. They've done so many and tried different ways of doing it. What?
That's all series. Okay?
And that's what my point is Spider-Man, he is that way. You know, everybody wants to see Spider-Man. I mean, You see, oh, we got a new Spider-Man movie coming out. You're kind of excited about it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not really excited about the ones they just did. I'm not really a big fan of this version of Spider-Man. But whatever, I'm going to have to watch them sooner or later, so I guess I'll... But... And it's the main reasons I want to watch them is because the villains are on it. That's the truth. I want to see Vulture and all that. I don't really want to see Spider-Man because I don't really like this version of Spider-Man. But that's just me, personally. I think he has certain things about him that makes him stand out, but I don't really like this version. But I did grow up with the Tobey Maguire version, so I like that one. You know, I liked how they did the first Goblin. I liked how they did, I like how they did Dr. Octopus. The Venom character on there wasn't bad. Sandman was good. They changed a little bit on it, but they tried to introduce more of a modern concept to that. So, because it was based on what his character, Sandman's character, became later. But, I mean, Spider-Man, that's what it stands out is no matter what generation you do it, what show or movie, you can't really go too wrong with Spider-Man. And even I agree that this one has its merits on it, you know. But, I mean, I'm just not a big fan of the actor himself. But that's what I'm saying. You can never go really too wrong with Spider-Man. I mean, you have to really try hard to really mess up Spider-Man. I mean, even when they created the Avengers series, the shows and cartoons, sooner or later they have to introduce Spider-Man popping up every now and then. Why? Because you can't do it without Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man stands out. What? You know, I mean, that's why I think they're building up for the Sinister Six series. Because they're building this whole Spider-Verse because they know right there, I mean, you could do so much with the Spider-Mans. I mean, his villains are iconic. I mean, look, now that they've done Morbius, they've done the Venoms. Now, and I've heard they're talking about doing Kraven. I mean, they could do so many of them and build this up and then bring Spider-Man involved in it. And now we got this huge battle with Spider-Man and all these villains. It's iconically cool. You know, everything about Spider-Man is cool. He's super strong, super smart. He can shoot webs. Now, depending on which comic and movies, series, and everything you're really into, it depends where the webs come from. But all in all, I mean, the whole thing is very interesting. And even Stan Lee, they showed that if I watched this one show, What If Superheroes Were Real or something like that. I forgot what it was called. It was really cool. Because what they did was they broke the science down within the comic book heroes. And they did Spider-Man, and they proven that if someone could get bitten by a radioactive spider that could give him someone's spider powers, what could they look like? And a lot of what Spider-Man does is actually real. They say a lot of the science behind it is there. Yeah. And climbing on walls. The spider sense. I didn't know that was real until I watched that series. That a spider actually has a spider sense to it. You know? And then, now the only thing they said was a major problem was the fact that he shoots these little different kinds of web balls and special webs and everything. That's not... Why are you saying no?
Because that's not right.
Yeah, they say that if something real, if someone could get real spider powers, it would look similar to Spider-Man's. Because... It was.
I gotta go see that.
But that's what they've proven that the powers would actually be similar to Spider-Man's. That a lot of it that Stan Lee came up with was real. Even Stan Lee goes, if I do all that, I would have put more imagination into it because he feels like he didn't try hard enough. But it was really neat seeing these concepts. I mean, be portrayed and everything like that. And it's really cool that if someone could obtain spider powers, I'll be one of them, you know? And I like the idea of there's different versions. I mean, they call it the Spider-Verse, but it's the same thing as multiverse, the whole Marvel multiverse. It's just more focused on the Spider-Man of their each one. And you see all these different versions of him, and they always have this concept on them, you know? They cannot let certain things go. Red is one of their biggest things. Why? Ooh. You having problems over there? You know, Spider-Man is so unique and cool in so many levels that, I mean, he's stronger than what most people actually assume. He's faster. He's highly intelligent. I mean, he's one of the smartest people that even Tony Stark admires his intelligence. Mr. Fantastic has actually worked with him many times. And Mr. Fantastic is literally considered one of the smartest people in the world. Even Bruce Banner has worked with him. But Spider-Man and Bruce and Hulk, they get along, but Hulk thinks he's annoying on some level. He thinks Spider-Man's annoying.
What?
But even the most other iconic heroes like Wolverine, they have a relationship with Spider-Man. A lot of characters have relationships with Spider-Man. And that's because I think, like, Stan Lee, that was one of Stan Lee's favorite superheroes he ever created. And also, he understood that this character, unlike most other characters, were just relatable. On so many, the problem with, you fall in love with this girl that's 10 times more than you could ever imagine, and the best part is she accepts you for everything you are, and then over time she realized, you finally tell her and all this, but it's this whole concept of a teenager struggling with being a teenager, all the feelings and emotions and all these things that happen, you know, the puberty and all that. It was a representation of that, and it was just well done in every way. I mean, the arrogance and the fact that, okay, he lost his parents, so his uncle and aunt took him in, and you love the concept of him having this tragic story, but it was similar to Batman. He lost his family. He had a tragic backstory, but unlike Batman, he overcame it. He struggled, and he overcame it, and his aunt and uncle took care of him, but then by his own fault, on some level, he caused his uncle to die. In doing so, it woke him up and realized, okay, there's the tragedy, but it also woke up that part of him that's a hero, that made him see that, like they say, I mean, it's one of the greatest statements ever made. Marvel and any other comic has been known, it happens, you see it on several series and other movies and shows have no connection to Spider-Man, even the Big Bang Theory, all that.
Yep.
They will all say, with great power comes great responsibility. One of the greatest lines to represent a superhero. Because without that concept, really every superhero, no matter Marvel, DC, or whatever series you read or watch, it still comes to that point. Yes, you got a few rogue ones that doesn't apply to it. You know, Spawn doesn't have great responsibility. He terrorizes what he needs to. You got a few of them that don't have to go by that rules. But most follow it. With that responsibility, with that power comes that responsibility. And usually either you're a hero or a villain. Personally, I would be a villain. And you want to be the hero? But that's my point of that. Spider-Man started so many different things, showed so many different things, did so many different things. He has such great personality and charisma and concepts. You know, you see him in the Black Spider. Charisma is a word. Mama just used the name, turned it into a name. We'll talk about it later. But Spider-Man, even his suits are iconic. You know Spider-Man just by his color scheme. You know even the black and white one where he's the symbiote Spider-Man. You know, there's so much in depth with him. He's a struggling reporter, a photographer who's trying to make it in this world, and yet he's still, which it works for him because then he don't have to really, he can be everywhere but not at the same time being Spider-Man, you know. It was a similar concept to Clark Kent, you know, Superman. but the difference is you saw more struggle with it. You know, it really mattered how much he struggles. You see it in so much. You got anything to add?
Well, I know he's one of the, like, some of the little bad guys, but I know he tried to kill me, Mom.
What?
Yeah. Joker tried to kill me, my friend.
Uh-huh. And you know, and like I said, he's got such a great villain cast. You know, he's got, like I said, Green Goblin, Venom. There's Doctor Octopus. Then there's the Rhino. There's Scorpion. There's so many. There's Mysterio, which is to me one of the weirdest ones of all of them is Mysterio. I think I would just drown him. And then there's so many, you know. There's even Kraven. Kraven is a very different kind of hero. I mean, villain, you know. And then there's so many. But you as soon as you see him, you instantly like, oh, this is gonna be a fight. Spider-Man's about to go have a battle with these guys, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even Daredevil, one of the things that Daredevil teams up with him. And then I'm going to bring in this, and I know a lot of people would like this concept, but he even shares a unique relationship with Deadpool. Because he's one of the few people that actually stands around and will argue with Deadpool. Why would... I have no idea. But when it comes to Deadpool, and when Spider-Man and Deadpool are together, there's some type of contrast and concept that they share. And they work very well together, but it's interesting because whenever Wade, or Deadpool as you goes on one of his little nuts rants and everything, Spider-Man's the one arguing with him. And it's so interesting. You're like, why? Why are they arguing with them? You know, it's so weird, but he just, it's a challenge. Deadpool loves it so much because it gives him a challenge, and he loves the fact someone, and maybe that's why Spider-Man does it on some level. He understands that that's what Wade is, that Wade is chaos. Wade needs attention on some level, and giving him that makes him bond better with Spider-Man, you know? I think that's a very interesting thing. But yeah, I mean, even Deadpool, Spider-Man, and Daredevil worked together as a team for a while in Manhattan. They teamed up for a little while together. And then, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's just amazing how much Spider-Man, you could literally name any hero within the Marvel Universe, and Spider-Man's worked with them probably at least once.
Why did you say that?
Because he's worked with Spider-Man many times.
How?
They're in the same world. They live on the same world. They live in the same city, basically.
But Spider-Man is more in not the same world in the world that we wore. Fight.
He's Marvel, baby. Marvel is their own world, and Deadpool is in that world.
But what about the bad guy?
Deadpool's not a bad guy, per se.
But why did you say they kind of work together?
They do. Deadpool and Spider-Man work together at times.
I thought you said he was a monster.
Who?
Deadpool.
He's not a monster. He just was turned into a mutant.
Why?
Yeah, I'll get onto a Deadpool another day. When we do Marvel again, we'll see if we can do Deadpool, okay? But that's, I mean, see, now you made me lose train of thought. I mean, that's one of the things, you know, you get, one of my favorite villains is Carnage, the sadistic serial killer who's gets bonded to a symbiote like Venom and creates this pure, chaotic, murderous creature that's just hilariously cool. on so many levels. I mean, it usually takes Spider-Man and Venom or somebody to team up to usually work together to take the kind of guy down. You know, and I mean, even he's dealt with Deadpool before. That's funny to me too. I've read that comic; it was hilarious. But that's what I'm saying is you can base so much off of him. You know, even Blade, the vampire hunter, has worked and dealt with Spider-Man.
Wait. Vampire?
Yeah, there's a vampire hunter.
Well, does he hunt that guy?
He hunts vampires.
But
Vampires in the Marvel universe are usually bad. They're usually trying to kill everybody. He hunts them. He kills the vampires.
he's a person.
Yes, I'll have to show you those movies one day. You know, he's one of the few people who's actually earned the powers of Cosmic before. He's even Cosmic Spider-Man. You know, there's so many heroes and villains and powers and things that has happened, and he's usually been one of them had to deal with it or been part of it. You know, I would have loved him to be brought in during the Marvel Avengers, during the early ones, not just during the Civil War. You know, that was neat in some aspects, but I thought it would be more interesting if he was further in. You know, like during the whole invasion on the first Avengers movie and stuff like that. That would have been neater to see how he handled certain aspects and things. But all in all, I'm just saying that there's so much to do with Spider-Man. The Spider-Man is iconic. He is literally not saying he's just like Batman, but when it comes to fame and standing out amongst their comic book universes, when you say DC, you usually think Batman. Superman or Batman. When you think Marvel, you usually think Spider-Man. They stand up on the same levels. You know what I'm saying? Now, because this is May, this is the Star Wars month, May the 4th be with you, right? We're going to let y'all vote on 3 different subjects again. Now, I'm pretty sure this is where people are going to go probably running to, because when I did the lightsaber crystal ones, a lot of people enjoyed that one, it seemed like. And so we're going to try doing lightsabers themselves. And what they mean within the Star Wars universe, different kinds and different looks to them. And there's so much to do with that. I mean, that is one of the most iconic things within sci-fi period. They even named it as the most sci-fi weapon ever created, because the most iconic one is a lightsaber.
But there was an explosion with Deadpool.
We're talking about something else. Now, so lightsabers is one. We'll also talk about the Empire. We can talk about the Empire in general and my opinion on it. I mean, personally, I think the Empire was actually a smarter move for the galaxy. I mean, yeah, you say, well, they were cruel on these certain aspects, but personally, I think the Marvel universe, the Star Wars universe, probably benefited more from the Empire than most people believe.
Yeah.
And so, what should we make the third one about? We did this. We had lightsabers and Empire. We need one more thing within the Star Wars universe to let people vote.
Empire.
I know you want the Empire, but what do we need to talk about? We gotta let people vote.
Empire.
We already said Empire. We need them one more. We have to have a vote for three things. We already got lightsabers, Empire, and remember what I talked about? Calm. So, what else should we talk about? We can do...
Don't tell me. Are you gonna say kaboom? Are you gonna say kaboom? Kaboom! Are you gonna say kaboom?
Want to talk about the Mandalorians?
Okay,
let's make that one it, okay?
I wanna go.
Come on, you gotta get back because we're at the end of the video. Okay, so that's be our 3. We're going to let y'all decide between lightsabers, Empire, or the Mandalorians, and what our opinions and our thoughts on them are, right?
Yeah.
40 says she's very upset nobody voted for Ghost Rider more than once. Huh.
I wanted Ghost Rider.
She hasn't even seen the Ghost Rider movies or anything to do
Hey,
with Ghost Rider.
you are going to go crazy with Ghost Rider.
But anyway, so yeah, y'all get on there and vote. Hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks. I hope we get more votes than we did this last time. And we can get on with it.
I was busy. It was really busy.
Uh-huh. And so I'll see y'all in 2 weeks. What do you want to say? May the force be with you?
No, I like Gator Bear.
That's horrifying. All right, I'll see y'all later. This is Lord Demos and Lady. Tell them bye.
Bye, present.